Hi guys, we're out here on my back patio today to try to change it up, make something different, see if we can find you a science fiction thrilling book to take on your vacation. If you're anything like me, you're looking for a book to take on vacation that is page-turning. It's action-packed. It's something that's gonna keep you in the book. It's also something that's gonna be accessible, something that old and new sci-fi readers are gonna like. And that's something that I wanna provide for you today on this list. I also wanna keep it modern, and in my channel, we define that as anything in the 1990s and afterward. And to make it a little bit harder on myself, instead of recommending specific books, I'm actually gonna be recommending specific authors. Now, this does mean that I'm recommending their entire backlist of work, so you might have to do a little bit of research when you look up these names, but I will be listing a couple of books out there for you that you could start with that I love. Let's get into this list. Now let's start with the granddaddy of science fiction thriller page-turner reads, and that's gonna be Michael Crichton. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of people know of Michael Crichton, but actually haven't picked up his books. That was me until a little while ago, so I would definitely recommend picking up either Jurassic Park or his book Prey. Both of them are gonna be fantastic first reads for him, and I think you will enjoy them. The next one that is also modern and picking up in Michael Crichton's footsteps is gonna be Blake Crouch. Not only did he just land a TV deal for his book Dark Matter, but a lot of his books have lots of twists and turns, and they will definitely keep you in the pages. His trilogy, starting with Pines, is a twisty trilogy that you may enjoy that's quite short, as well as his standalone Recursion. Now, the next author that we have to talk about, and one that's very rapidly becoming one of my all-time favorite sci-fi thrilling authors, is Daniel Suarez. Now, Daniel Suarez always has a couple of little cool tidbits in his books that teach me something. And a lot of times you have to pay just a little bit more attention to his books to get all of the little tiny nuances. So if that's not something that you're enjoying, maybe stay away from Daniel Suarez. He has a lot of economics and politics in a lot of the books, but I really enjoy him. And I really loved the books that I've picked up by him so far. If you're in for a space thriller, Delta V is definitely where you should start. However, he also has the book Demon or Damon, however you want to say that. That is the beginning of an incredible AI trilogy. What vacation list would be complete without some Martha Wells on it? Now, it's true that Martha Wells has some fantastic backlist books, but you gotta start the Murderbot novella series if you haven't already. It's an easy series to get into, peppered with a couple of novels here and there, and it is one that is perfect for a summer beach read. Another author that has not been talked about on BookTube for a while is Peter Klein's. I would definitely recommend starting with The Fold, or if you don't mind a little touch of horror in your books, I would start with 14. Both of these books should be pretty accessible if you go to your local library and are really worth the read. Now, another author I would add to this list is Hugh Howie. Now, he's getting quite a name for himself after the Silo series that begins with Wool. However, he also has some other books that are starting to clamor with attention, including the space thriller Beacon 23, which is now a series that you can watch. So if you want to read the book before the series, it's definitely one I would recommend. But don't forget about some of his other standalone work. I would also definitely take a look at Halfway Home. Now, I would also go ahead and add to this list a modern classic author that if you haven't read, you must go out and get his books, and that's gonna be the king himself, Andy Weir. Now, if you haven't read The Martian or Artemis, now is definitely the time to do so. But one of my all-time favorite books to read, especially for the summer, is gonna be Project Hail Mary. For me, this book was just a lot more fun. It was all of his strengths and, in my opinion, none of his weaknesses, and I really, really loved that one. Another author that you should definitely take a heavy look at is going to be John Scalzi. Now, obviously, he is very well loved by the Hugo community, but there is a good reason. His very sarcastic, smarmy characters always make for a very easy read. It's so fun to get into his stories, and I think they would be perfect vacation beach reads. My recommendation is, of course, to start with Old Man's War, but not everybody wants to spend time on the beach in space, so if you're looking for a different kind of book, you could always look at Kaiju Preservation Society, which is going to be a giant monster type of a book, or of course, my personal favorite, and that is Lock In, where we have a detective story that is also taking place in the future that a pandemic has happened. Now, of course, it might be too soon for a pandemic read, but John Scalzi has so many other books to choose from, I just don't think you can go wrong. Another fantastic modern author that I don't think gets enough clout is Emma Newman. Not only is she a fantastic audio narrator, but she has a great series that starts with Planetfall. Don't get too worried about this particular series because while they all occur around the same particular event and definitely in the same universe, they all follow different characters. So this is definitely one that you could easily pick up any book in that series and not feel lost. I would still recommend, personally, my favorite is the first book, Planetfall, but so many of the other books are really fantastic. Speaking of other up-and-coming modern authors, we have to talk about Edward Ashton. He is getting quite a little bit of fame himself because there is a movie coming out of one of his more famous novels, and that is Mickey 7. Not only was Mickey 7 a book that actually surprised me with how much I enjoyed it, but he also has quite a few books that are coming out, including one this year called Mal Goes to War, dealing with an AI main character, which is right on point for this summer. So if you're interested in a little bit more of a thriller with some sarcasm, Edwin Ashton might be your guy. Another author that I don't think gets talked about enough on BookTube is the author Max Barry. Not only does he have an extensive past works to choose from, but all of them seem to be standalones. Three of my personal favorites of his backlist is going to be the book Providence, which definitely is a sci-fi thriller in space. And then we have Jennifer Government. It's definitely a dystopian novel. And then, of course, we have the sci fantasy contemporary piece that is the book Lexicon. Another author that is one that you will hear about quite a lot that I think is very accessible for those summer reads, and that's going to be Robert J. Sawyer. He has quite an extensive backlist and several books that have been made into TV shows, including the book Fast Forward, and I've talked about him on my channel a couple of times. He has a few books that have been nominated for the Hugos and other books that I think might be worth checking out, like the book Calculating God, which really takes an interesting look at religion and science. But don't worry if that idea is a little bit too heavy on your vacation beach read. There are lots of other books in his backlist repertoire that might be good for you, including the WWW Wake series. Now, we can't go on with this show without personally mentioning one of my all-time favorite new authors to watch, and that is Cameron Hurley. She really surprised me with her standalone military sci-fi book, The Light Brigade, but she really outdid herself with the wacky and the weird in her book, Stars Are Legion. And if you're in for a mucusy, interesting, spacefaring thriller ride, this one might be for you. Another up-and-coming author that I don't think gets enough clout is the author Chris Pantier. He only has a couple of books out so far, but I've enjoyed almost every single one of them. The satirical Stringers with its beautiful cover, and the dystopian fantasy mashup that is The Phlebotomist. These are two books that are really different, and they're really fun beach reads because there's a lot of humor. He has this really fantastic way about himself. He doesn't take his characters too seriously, which is something that I think John Scalzi does very well as well. Another up-and-coming author that I have been really enjoying is J.S. Dews. Not only does she have a third book in a trilogy coming out that is a military science fiction series starting with The Last Watch. I really enjoyed this one because it was kind of like a rich rascal to redemption kind of a story, but she also has a standalone book that came out last year, I believe, called Rubicon that really gutted me in the end. I really hope that she publishes more books in the Rubicon world. Now, another author that I think is worth mentioning here, especially with all these Audible sales going on, is Dennis E. Taylor. This is the king of satire himself, who published the Bobiverse series, starting with We Are Legion, We Are Bob. These are some of my all-time favorite audiobooks to listen to over the summer, and if you're already caught up on his series, he has a couple other books out that are standalones that are also really fun, including Roadkill and Singularity Trap, that I think are also worth reading. And last on this list, but certainly not least, is the fan favorite Emily St Mandel. Not only does she do cozy sci-fi books well, but I think that she is slowly starting to stretch herself as an author. One of the most popular of her novels is Station 11, which is definitely a cozy dystopian novel that was made into a TV series. So if this is something that you're interested in, or you just want to watch the series, I would highly recommend it. And the book itself is one that I hope to get into this summer. And our last two authors on this list, Sloane Nuel, an author that I don't think gets enough credit for some of his really interesting books. The first series that I would recommend by him is Sleeping Giants. Not only can this first book be read as a standalone if you want it to be, it's also told in interview style, which is, I think, a really fun, interesting way to tell this particular first contact story. Another book by him that is a totally different subject matter, that's an alternate history with aliens in it, is the series that starts with the history of what comes next. This series is ongoing, but I'm on the third book and I'm loving every second of it. So if you're in for a little bit of alternate history, then definitely one to check out. And that does it, you guys, for my page-turning sci-fi authors that are perfect to take with you on vacation. There are obviously many, many more that I did not include on this list. There's only 18 authors on here. Feel free to leave me a comment in the comments section down below if you've read a couple of these authors and if you liked or didn't like them, or if you have any other suggestions for anybody else looking for that perfect read on the beach. Until next time, you guys, I gotta go enjoy the sunshine.